Right, let's make the gingerbread house. So just to remind everybody, this is what it looks like. And we got quite a bit of stubbing to do. If you have joined late, then just to remind you, you need a pair of scissors, you need some thread, you need a sewing needle, and some felting needles, ideally. I've got a whole range of felting needles there, but a medium and a coarse should be fine. If you have any multi-tools, they might come in handy. And first off, in your kit, you have a template. Excuse my handwriting on there. We just never made it into a digital copy. But I'm going to go straight onto the overhead camera now because that is where you will see most of the um, tutorial happening. So I actually am going to cut out these templates. That's what I've decided because it's the easiest way to transfer them onto your structural core. And because they're all labeled, you should be fine. It doesn't matter that if you can't remember or what is this now. You know that this is the back of the house. This is the front of the house because it's actually written on there. And so just cut along the line. And the measurements are in there as well. So in case you have you can't remember if you need to cut something off, then you can measure it to just make sure that you've got the right measurements. So I'm cutting all of these off. Now you have a 20 by 20 structural core sheet, so you have actually quite a bit left over. Um, and I'm going to use two 10 by 15 um, sheets, which I've got here, because I couldn't I couldn't find any of the 20 by 20. We might have sold out. Or I should have said you also need a pen because you're going to trace your templates onto the structural core and then you cut it out of the structural core. Unless you feel confident just laying them on top of the structural core and cutting around it. Now, because everything of the structural core will be covered with wool, you're not going to see any markings on there. So I've now cut out all of my template. Um, get rid of the bits of paper we don't need. There we go. Pop that to one side, put that to one side, pop that to one side. And so I'm now going to draw one of my main house parts onto there because I'm going to the corner. And don't be generous. Be stingy with make it that size. Don't think, oh, by the way, they're the same, so it doesn't really matter. You could use just one. Don't put a huge margin on the outside. We don't want to go bigger with these pieces. And so I've now got my front and my back. I'm going to cut these out. Needs a little bit of power with your hands. Cut this structural core. And I've got my first two pieces cut. Get rid of that. And then these are done. Now I need to fit all of this on here. So I've got the roof. I'm just going to check it out that it fits. If you are using the template had the right layout. So there's actually, if you've got a 20 by 20 mat, you've got a lot of that structural core left. So just making that corner here. That one's done to one side. I thought it would be easier to have all the shapes so that you don't have to then think, have I done this one? Not sure. That one's done to one side. Oops. That one's done to one side. And then we've got the two smaller pieces. If you find an easier way of doing this, I have a tendency to overcomplicate things. So you might think, why is she doing it this way? This is completely ridiculous. Do it your way. But let us know maybe if you find an easier way. And I'm just going to cut each shape out with my scissors. It does leave sort of a bit of fluff on your workplace, so you could get rid of that. I usually just blow it to the next person opposite me. And they think, oh, it's always so dusty. Well, I wonder why the dust emerges in the morning. Must be dusty in the evening. It's quite funny actually. So don't tell her. Okay, here we go. So I've got all my pieces now. So basically, this is one of the front and this is the back. Okay, it doesn't really matter which way round you have them. But the main thing now is that when you assemble it, so obviously we need to make sure that we cut the gable, the roof out here. And because this is the side, like this, so the side will sit like this and like that. And then you've got, now I've got to think. Okay, right. I am definitely not talented to be a, oh no, these are the roof. These are the roof bits. These are the sides. Says it, the side. Sorry. So the side will be like this. So they sit on each side, obviously 3D. So what you need to do now is you need to mark your front and your back and the middle. I'm just doing this by eye. And you draw a line like this. So put the sides onto the big piece like that. And remember, this is the side. I got confused. This is the roof. So maybe put the pieces on top of what you actually are wanting to do. And put the sides onto the sides. That's the base. And that's the side. Okay, so pop that there. And then cut the first roof parts off. So you end up with these triangles. They're spare. And then you could actually just use your 1/2 and make that your template. So now you've got your front and your back, and then you've got the side. And I somehow fear, is that the base? Is that big? Yeah, that's fine. We make that fit like that. So you've got your house will look like this. I'm just going to put it together, and then it has got the roof sides on here. That's your house if completely unsecured at the moment. So you can see, I'm just going to stand it up. Can you see this is your house? So you've got the base, the sides, the roof, everything. And all you need to do now is sew it together. So let's just do this slowly. And I think the best way to start is probably by sewing the two sides on. And for this, you do need needle and thread. I've just got a normal cotton thread, nothing too, because we're felting it, we're covering it completely with wool. It will not come apart. We just need to have a base. So I'm going to just grab my sewing needle, and this might take a little while just to get it all sewn together. And you do want to sew it very tightly because we don't want to make the house any bigger than it already is. And the way that I sew it, I fold the sides in like this. Get your thread established. Just go in and out a few times. You can put a knot on it if you prefer. Again, it doesn't matter if you have the thread showing. So this should now be, oh, I should have maybe used a different color thread. I use a different color thread in a minute when I've used this up. And then I just do an overstitch. I literally just go over the two shapes like this. I'm going to use a different color thread in a minute so you can see it better, because this is very much the color of the actual structural core. So that's probably not going to be very helpful and not very visible. So once you've done this, it's very simple. When you open it up, it stands up. So you've now got one side sewn on there. And let me just get some different color thread so that you can actually see where I'm sewing. Just get a dark brown. And I've doubled my thread up. So I'm just going to secure that so I can start with a new color. So just go in and out. It genuinely doesn't matter if it's not solidly sewn. It's just enough so that you get the shape established. Just going to thread the darker thread now so you can see it. when I'm sewing. So there's my thread. I've doubled it up. I'm not even going to put a knot on. So then you need the second side to go on here. So I fold it down inward, get my thread established. It doesn't matter where you start, at the bottom or at the top. And I'm just going to go in and out a few times so that you can see it better now. Don't worry if you've got a like wispy ends there, it's fine. And then just keep going, go down, over. So you can see that I'm not catching an awful lot of wool. I don't want to go too deep into the shape, and I'm pulling it tight so that the thread almost disappears. Just what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches, and then I sew that up as well. So just so that I have, you could cut it if you wanted to, um, or you can also go up, because we're going to put now the other bit on top. So again, fold it. So we're doing it flat on top of each other again. So instead of starting with a thread, I've just pushed it through the side. See, that's gone the wrong way. Do that as well. Now with the overstitch, because you're doing an overstitch, it's almost like a hinge. So you can open the shape up, and it kind of, it acts like a hinge, so you can open it. Can you see? So now I've got that construct, and I need to obviously fasten that side on. Again, you don't need to sever the thread, just go along the house all the way to the other end. Might have to do it in 2 stages. It does shorten your thread quite a bit, but might be easier to do it that way. And then again, just flatten it like this and go over. I think I'm going to run out of thread before I get to the end, but that's okay. I can start a new bit and then do the base at the same time. So over, pull it tight, and doing this will act as a hinge, like I said. Okay. Oop. Okay, that's what it needed to be started up new. Now, if this is all too fast for you, because I know I am a fast crafter and I do apologize about this, don't worry, because you can rewatch this anytime in the future. So this is going to be available to be rewatched going forward. Right, I'm just going to continue where I've just left off here. Just getting my thread re-established by just going in and out a few times so that it sort of becomes secure. And you can, of course, use a thread is more the color of your structural core. And then we're going to put this. Now, the reason why this is slightly smaller, if you look at the gingerbread house, can you see how that pulls slightly in? It's more of a, it's not as completely square shape. It goes in a little bit more. So we're trying to already get that shape to become a little bit more narrow at the bottom. So we're pulling it in a little bit. So again, this time, obviously, it's harder to flatten it. You need to go all the way around it, still with an overstitch. So you're still going round. And when you get to the other side, it will pull quite a bit, because you're pulling the base of the house in. Now, don't worry about it too much, because when we needle felt it, there's a lot of give in this, so that you can actually also squish it in with the needle felting, and all of this will get covered. So we're just going along, try your best to get that base on, even if it looks a little bit pulled and squishy. Get that. So get that pulled with the sewing. You can actually sort of manipulate it to come in a little bit at the base. Work your way all the way around, And once we've got the base on, we just need to put the roof sides on. And then, but before we do that, we also need to stuff the whole house. And that is what gives it its stability. So we're going to sew this on, but we're not going to sew the top together yet because we need to stuff it. And that's why you've got two types of white wool in your kit. One is for stuffing and one is for the icing the roof. So here we go. That's the base. And then just secure your thread like this, just so that it doesn't come open. Again, it doesn't really matter if it looks pretty or not. You're not going to win a sewing competition in this. And I'm going to put my needle back into the magnetic needle case. And now you've got like a little open roof house. And you're going to use the slightly lumpier, slightly creamier wool, which is the basic core wool. And you're going to stuff it. Stuff it in the corners. If you wanted to, you could use some of your leftover structural core. If you want to put that in there, that's absolutely fine. But the core wool should also do the trick. So stuff this in all the way. Can use all of it. And then we need to sew the roof sides on. So they go here and here. And the idea is that there is a slight overhang. So start at the top with the sewing. And make sure that you really are going to make that tight. So don't make the house suddenly fatter. I mean, you can. It will shrink down quite a bit because as we're felting, the house will shrink. But at the moment, it looks a little bit bigger than the model. But this one is quite solidly felted. So we're trying to get. And if anything, your house might be a bit bigger. But you know, that's nice. Bigger gingerbread house hanging on the tree. So I'm threading my needle again. And I'm starting at the top. So get that thread on like this. And then work your way down the roof on one side. Again, it's only sort of like 4 or 5 stitches, so that you don't need to make this too firm. And when you get to that part here, because you don't want to get the edge straight on there, go into the edge of the roof, but not all the way, just slightly, like about 1 centimeter away from it. And you're going into the edge of the side and straight up and straight down. So this is the only time where you're not doing an overstitch. You're actually going in and out so that you maintain that overhang of the roof. If for whatever reason you find it easier just to stitch straight into the edge, that's fine too. We'll just adjust the house later when we add the wool to it. And then you go up the other side, all the way to the top. Like this. And then we repeat it on here. So you could, if you wanted to, stitch the gable to, right here at the top of the roof together. Again, it's over, just over and around. The thread kind of disappears into the felt shape, felt pieces, the structural core. And then you go down one side, might run out of thread here. Basically, you've got the house after this. The house shape is done. And all we need to do is cover it with wool, felt it down a little bit more, and decorate it. So it's a really easy way to make a 3D house. You can use this for other houses if you want to make a little cottage, or I don't know, maybe you want to make a model of your house. I'm just going to start a new thread here for the last bit. I'm also just going to have a quick look at, I think we have some chats going on, so see if I can read any of, no, we're all good. Okay, you're all just busily making away with me. So I'm just going to get another bit of sewing done and get my needle threaded, get the thread on, and then start off where I was. Well, actually, I'm going to start here at the top and then go along the bottom. I think that's easier, an easier start here where you just keep going round and round the edges. And last bit. And I know not everybody likes sewing, but I promise you, this is not a beauty contest about sewing. It is the simplest stitch, literally over and over. So literally in, out at the top, round, and repeat. And then when you get to the edge of the roof, this is the only bit where you're not doing an overstitch, where you're actually going through the edge of the roof, catching the base. I mean, to be perfectly honest, you could almost miss that bit as well if you find that too challenging, because we will felt on top of it, and that will automatically get felted together with the wool that we are applying on top. So you wouldn't even have to do the stitching on this part. And then you've got sort of quite a squishy fat house here at the moment. And then that's when the fun starts. So just get rid of the last bit of the thread. And now we're ready to needle felt. Yay! And to be perfectly honest, I don't even think you need a felting mat for this. If you, well, you can have a felting mat, obviously, but I don't think you need one necessarily, because you're stabbing straight. There's not, is there anything you stab separately? I don't think so. Lots and lots of bits and pieces here on my mat. Normally I blow them straight ahead of me where my colleagues sit. But I'm gonna be kind tonight and I put it in the bin, so she doesn't think what the heck's been happening here in the night. Quite a lot that's going in the bin. And there's my house ready. Look, it's already a gingerbread house. Just needs to be ginger now. So I'm going to start with the ginger wool. I'm going to just quickly check in with everybody that you're all okay. So just bear with me. Right, so we've got the house all sewn up with its little floppy, flappy sides here. I'm going to go back on the overhead camera and we'll continue with it now. Needle felting, yay, we can start needle felting. So you need your gingerbread color house, color wool, and I'm starting with a coarse felting needle. Now, you're not just adding the surface to this house, you're also trying to shrink it down a little bit, which means that wherever you're stabbing in quite deeply, so the wool doesn't just get fastened on to the structural core, it actually gets pushed all the way into that stuffing that you've popped inside. So we are actually felting the house down as we are adding the surface color to it. Now, you don't need to use all of this. I can tell you that already. You just want to make sure that you get every single bit of the structural core covered, except for the top of the roof, because these bits here, they're going to be they're going to stay white like that, and then we decorate them. So you go all the way up to the eaves, but you're here as well, but you're not touching the top of the roof. That's going to be covered in white. So I'm just going to felt this down. Now, if you have a multi-tool, and it could be various multi-tools, it could be a 3-needle felting tool, it could be a 5-needle felting tool, it could be a monster like this, an 8-needle felting tool. You can definitely use these. I'm always absolutely terrified telling people to use these, because I always imagine if you stab yourself with that, you will definitely, it will definitely hurt. This is a little bit more tame. Can use that. But if all fails, just use the single needle, certainly to get the wool into place, felt it down, and you want to really keep your shape quite nice and square. So felt right into the core, keep reducing the size of your house and apply the wool bit by bit so that you're covering all of it. And it's a little bit of labor of love, I will be honest. So quite a bit of stabbing, especially if you want to make the house a bit smaller than it is right now. But it will be worth it. So keep stabbing away. And the wool should actually fasten really nicely into that core wool. It's really quite amazing how this structural core gives the structure, hence the name, I suppose. So keep stabbing away and adding color to it. And I'm staying away from the white roof at the moment because I want that to be white. Don't need to make that ginger color when it will be white eventually. So I've stabbed so hard that the inside, I've got all the way from here through there. Look how the wool pops out the other side. So that's okay if you're doing this to start with, but at some point you're going to have to just ease off a little bit with that needle so you're not getting all the white coming out the other side. So whilst you're felting the shape down, that's fine, and you can go over that part again where the wool has popped out. But when we get to decorating the house, we want it to be just a solid ginger color. So when this happens, just use a little bit of wool, cover it up, and felt it over. And you want to do the base as well. So you want to color in the base here, because if you're putting this up as a Christmas tree decoration, and it's quite high up, you don't want to see the white base. You wanted to see it like a gingerbread color base. So you need to cover all four sides of the house and the base, but not the roof. It's quite heavy on your hand. A 3 needle felting tool, I'm just going to get one, will also work really well. Like this one here. Oh, got one needle broken, so that's no good. 2 needles work better than one. I'm just going to find one that has got all 3 needles. That one, blue one instead. That works quite well as well. Use whatever you've got and whatever you find works best. That 3 needle felting tool actually works extremely well. And I don't think it's going all the way through. So that's a nice one. And remember, the house is sort of slightly sloping towards to be slightly more narrow at the bottom. So bear that in mind as well. So slowly but surely, that's how you do it. Don't pile the wool on, just do little bits, cover it. Even if you have a bald patch, that's fine. Score with it. You can always add more wisps. And you need to make all of that ginger last on the house. Yeah, you can get so totally use all of it, but there should be no need to do that because we're not building bulk, we're just coloring in. And I think I found my favorite tool to do this, which is the 3 needle felting tool. And this is just quite a relatively cheap one. The Clover does a similar one, but this is absolutely fine, this cheaper unbranded version. So when you get around the edges, it's worth literally putting the wool around the edge so that you don't get the white peeping through. So just fold it over and then felt it down, going around the corners, so to speak. And those of you who have done the retreat where we did the camper van, or in many cases people did other things, like we've just seen with Karina doing the bus, you will remember it's not a quick job. you're having to do this quite thoroughly because you want to have a nice even cover and you want to even out the shape at the same time. So it's not a quick thing to do. You want to spend time doing this and do it thoroughly and do it neatly, even though we're going to color in the gingerbread house. Now, I've only colored mine in from one side, but there's nothing stopping you doing the other side when you get to it. I think during this tutorial, I will only do one side, otherwise we'll be here for a long time. So, and when you work on one part, you can sort of feel like the other part is bulging out a bit. So you need to even that out when you get to it. Just a little bit of, a lot of stabbing, not a little bit of stabbing, a lot of stabbing. I will know this in my arm tomorrow. So, and I said I don't think this is going through the other side. No, it's not actually. It is definitely not going through the other side. So these three needle tools are brilliant. If you have a clover tool, don't take that extra extension off because that will make the needles extra long and you potentially can stab through to the other side, which just means you have to add more wool to it again. But yeah, just keep stabbing away because it is also firming up the shape and it is shaping it at the same time. So, and stab that part down a little bit. So you can see this is where I'm going with it and it's actually firming up really nicely. So the wool inside now this part feels a lot firmer than this part is still bulging out when I squeeze it. And this one isn't because I felted it down really solidly. So it's worth stabbing into it. I'm going to have a little go with this again. This monster of a tool. And it will, if you use this felting tool, it will just speed up the firming. It's not so much about doing a neat cover. It's more about felting the shape down to make it firmer. Now, each of your gingerbread houses will look completely different because we all make things differently, don't we? We all have a tendency to put our own interpretation onto instructions, but also some of you might find it harder to stab really deep into the wool, and that's okay. If your gingerbread house is a lot more fluffy and a little bit bulging and a little bit bigger, it doesn't matter. It just is a different shape, and it's just a bigger house and maybe not so square, but that's okay. I think I think the house will definitely be slightly bigger than my model that I made. I must have used slightly smaller templates, but it was my first model, so yeah, going forward. And of course, if you want to make smaller gingerbread houses, just reduce the size of the templates. The easiest way is probably, if you haven't cut them out, or if you put them on a piece of paper and copy them and just in a photocopier reduce the size, because then everything gets reduced in the same way, in the same scale, rather than you just thinking, oh, I'll just cut this a little bit smaller. If you place them all on a piece of paper and then put them into a photocopier and maybe go to, I don't know, 80% or something like that, reduce it slightly and see how that looks, then all of the shapes will be reduced rather than you just sort of haphazardly trying to cut them slightly smaller. Unless you're mathematically very gifted, then you can work out how much you have to reduce each shape if you want to do this manually. Probably not something I would do, but who knows? We have some geniuses amongst us, no doubt. I'm still stabbing into my house, but it's definitely getting there, slowly but surely. And don't worry if you see a bold patch, you can cover it up with more wool and just get it covered. That's the main thing. Get it covered. And don't pile the wool on massively generously, because you can easily use all of it just on one side, and you want to make sure that you have, this is all I've got left. I've pretty much covered all of my house now, but I do have some bald patches that I need to cover up. So it's a bit missing here. It's not so essential that you get everything completely covered um, on that part of the roof. We don't want that, because that's going to be white, and we spill over into the ginger part, because the icing is sort of oozing down from the roof as well. So using my 3-needle tool again, and it's very satisfying to feel when you stab into it and it doesn't bulge out so much, because you know that you felted it down so much that now the house has become really quite stable. Oh my goodness, the options are endless. You could make a little dog house, you could make a stable, um, you can make a cottage, make just lots and lots of gingerbread houses. You can make them smaller, you can make them bigger, scale it up to a big house. You could make a bird house. That would be fun. Put a little, make a little bird to sit on top. Yeah, anything's possible. And of course, if you didn't want to make it a stuffed house, you could also cut out a door and leave it hollow. It's a little bit harder to felt into it, because obviously the wool will the stabbing will squish the house down. But we managed to do that with the camper van, and the larger shapes that were turned into bags, and they obviously weren't solid inside. So it is possible. So I now I want to work on this a little bit and squish it down. So I'm going to give that quite a bit of um, working now. Get that shape down a little bit. Squish that down. As I said, it's not essential that you're following every single suggestion that I make about your gingerbread house, but if you can get it to shrink down a little bit, I think it looks more like a gingerbread house. I don't know why I think that. And I'm going to just cover bits up that are need covering. So I'll do that with my single needle, and I'm still using my coarse needle to do this. So just cover the corner here. Now, when you look at the decoration of the house, there's going to be lots happening. Now, the decoration of the house, this is just a suggestion. And I think the fun part starts when we decorate the house, because you can go completely off script here. So I do it my way. And if you want to follow my way, that's brilliant. But if you want to make your own gingerbread house, decorated in your own way, then you can do that too. So the main thing when we get to it, just giving you the heads up, is that you can sort of put like sugar coating here on the side. Now I've needle felted these candy canes. Some of you will have 2 candy canes, some of you will have 1 candy cane, some of you will have different cupcakes and different decorations. Everything on this house is actually needle felted. You have way more cake decorations to glue on them. But I show you the next thing we're going to do is to put the roof on. Well, the roof is on, but we're coloring in the roof. And then you can decide how you want to decorate your gingerbread house. You don't have to go with a colorway. So if you're putting a door in, it doesn't have to be red and pink. It can be purple and yellow. It's entirely up to you how you want to then decorate your house. So I'll do it my way and you do it your way. And if you want to have the front and the back decorated, you can do that too. You should have plenty of wool to do that. So all the gingerbread houses will look different, and that's so exciting. I love it when that happens, when people start using their own ideas and creativity. And maybe you've got a memory of your favorite gingerbread house as a child, and you want to replicate that. So just do your version or copy mine. I don't mind either way. Right, getting there. I would like it to be a little bit more in at the base, so I'm going to have to work a little bit harder on that. Just felting it down a lot more, coming that way. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Sometimes the more you felt in, the more wool gets, the more of the wool underneath gets exposed again. So it might mean that you have to add a little bit more of the ginger wool over the top again. Now I've still got quite a bit of ginger wool left. Once I've covered it, that's it. I don't need to use any more. So I'm just patching up little areas that I'm exposing by stabbing so deep into the shape. And this is it. So I don't expect that everybody is working at my speed. As I said, I am, for some strange reason, really fast at doing things, always have been. But that doesn't mean to say that you have to be the same. So take your time. That's what I'm saying. Never rush anything. It's not worth it. And you're missing out on all the fun, the stabbing. You don't want to rush any of that. So don't feel bad if you're slowing, um, if you're a little bit slower, because you do you. And maybe it's quite good that I'm quite fast, because if anybody else is fast, it might get a bit boring if I'm taking hours. So, right, that to me is good enough. And now I'm going to use the white wool to add on the top. Now, I think most of you have got probably slightly whiter wool than I have got. So the wool that I have got is a little bit creamier, because I couldn't get the other wool. We're waiting for delivery. So what I do is I take a wisp of wool and I'm actually folding it so that I've got a neat edge here, and that neat edge is now sitting on top of the roof so that it hangs over the side here, and I'm going to work my way around and do it on here as well. So starting here for now, I'm going to use my coarse felting needle, and I'm just going to stab the wool down onto the roof so it gets fastened down. And this bit here, that's all, it's got like a gooey edge, like a soft gooey edge. I'm going to felt down so that it looks a little bit like it's still separate. You can probably see that. So when you get to the side and you've got enough wool there, because we've made that overhang, you can actually tuck it under the overhang. If you haven't made the overhang, you have to do what I did here on the front. So you can actually felt it underneath that overhang and get the wool to sort of seep over the side, and then just soften the edges a little bit. Imagine it's icing that you've just poured on top of the roof, and obviously you felt it down as best as you can at the top. Don't lose the shape of the roof, so make sure that you keep the gable as it is, and then you repeat that around the edge. If you haven't, like I don't have enough on that on the back, so I'm just going to felt that down, and I'll use a little bit less wool. I can stretch and add it here. Because the top of the roof is covered, I just need to make that gooey edge and cover up the seam. I mean, I have used dark thread so that you could see it better. If you have used a lighter thread that is more in line with the color of the structural core, you don't have these seams there, so you don't have to worry so much about covering everything up because you've got the white structural core there. But if you've used a darker thread like I did, then obviously you have to do the same what I'm doing, cover it up entirely. Make sure that you can't see the thread. And again, use the multi-tool, only because we want to felt that roof down a little bit more. So, and you might want to stab into the eaves here as well on that side. And then repeat this on the other side. So doing this here now. Get it felted on away from the edge to start with. Pop it on the roof. Maintain that sharp eave, so either felt from one side or the other side so that you keep that triangle going there. And then felt into the edge. And I've got a little bit of white showing there. That should actually be ginger, so I'm just stuffing that into the corner here. That's been sort of exposed. Get that felted down in the same way. So you're basically keeping that edge almost like 3D, so it does look like it's a separate substance that has sort of like been poured on top. So you don't want to melt this into the brown. You don't want it wispy and sort of spilling out like a dusting. You want it to be a separate shape, a little bit like with the Christmas pudding when you have that top of the cream that looks very different to the actual cake part. So I'm going to have to do the edge here separately because I didn't put enough wool on the top. And then let that melt into the rest of the roof and keep that edge again. So remember we said you can fold that under, which I didn't do on this one actually. So I can do that again and fold it under, get it tucked away underneath because I've sewn it so that there was an extra lip. But if you haven't got that, then just let it fold the wool in as you did with the front and the back. And but if you have sewn that roof with an overhang, then you can just tuck the wool underneath it and cover it up that way. And you want to keep it nice and soft. You don't want to make it look too flat. So allow the wool to still look as if it's got a bit of softness and bounce in it. And last bit here, front. And then I've covered all of the roof, front, back, top, sides, everything. No structural core is now visible on anywhere on the house. All the seams are covered up, and there will be in a minute once I've got that down. And you've got sort of a cream white colored roof, but you don't have any more seams showing or structural core. That's all gone now. It's all covered. Every single bit. And if it still shows, just add some wool into it. Like for me there, this part here, I either pull the roof down a little bit, which I'm going to do, or you have to add a bit more ginger brown in there for the gingerbread house. And if it's slightly wonky, then you can adjust it too. But it's meant to look asymmetrical. It doesn't have to be 100% symmetrical because you imagine pouring sugar coating on top, and you imagine that it kind of goes wherever, but not entirely symmetrical. And that's fine. So you've got that part, and I'm going to show you the next bit because that requires you gluing the chimney in, which is actually a cupcake. So the chimney obviously has to sit so that it goes up like this. So it won't be like this straight on it. It needs to be like that. So what I've done is I've actually made a groove into the roof top, just where I know the edge of the cupcake can fit in. So it's just a dent in there. And it can sit like this, and suddenly it is actually sitting straight. And And then I've used a little bit of white wool and just rolled it up into a little soft sausage and popped that around where the cupcake will sit. So showing you that from the side is that it will be at a right, it needs to point up, otherwise the smoke can't come out properly. And but it also needs to be nestled into the roof, into the sugar, icing sugar here. So then you can just felt this down very softly around where the chimney pot will sit, which is obviously a cupcake, like this. So keep it nice and soft. Pop it in so that it sits like in a little nest. And in here, so this is the other thing that you need, which I haven't told you about, but obviously you probably worked that out because you've got little decorations. You need to use some glue, squirt it in there, plentiful. Oh, and pop your chimney in there. So that it's still visible. Put the wool around a little bit more, and leave it to dry. So you could do that at the very end, but if you wanted to, you can do this now. And what I'm going to do, I'll just check in with everybody whilst this is sort of getting solidified. So right, that's where we are with the house. Got the chimney in place. It's still a little bit soft, so the glue hasn't quite dried, but it's enough to work on it again. And we're going back to the overhead camera so you can see what I'm doing. Here we go. So house here. Now the fun bit starts. Actually, there's a little bit of a bold patch. I'm gonna just fill that in with a ginger. This is what I've got left of the ginger, so still there's plenty to, if I have to cover up a few bits. So maybe the idea is that you start with a door. So you could put a door here. Now I did this with the bright pink and the pale pink as a frame. Put a little bit of pink on the outside here as a sort of like almost like a door, like a house frame. And did I use red? Actually, let's have a look. Oh yeah, I used red, but you can use pink. So this is where the fun begins. You can, so I used red for the door. So the idea is actually the easiest way to do this is by putting a bit of fluff on the gingerbread house, and then you just use your felting needle and you draw, well, you don't draw, but with your needle you stab the outline of the house in, sorry, of the door into your fluffy red wool like this. Missing a bit there. Like this. And then all you do is you just bend the wool on the outside of your line inward and felt it down. That way you get a fairly neat line and you've got a shape on your door, of your door, like this. Now if you want to, you can actually go down to a medium needle because you might not want so many stab marks. And if you need to add a little bit more red to cover up the inside, you can do that too. But that gives you a pretty neat shape. And what I've done is I've actually used the pink, that really candy floss color pink, and put the door frame. And I'm doing this as you go by just twisting the wool between your fingers, so rolling it between your fingers, and then you start felting it in, and you go around, felt it while you shape it around and felt it down. You can go over it again if you want a thicker door frame. And then you can give your doors stripy, vertical stripes if you want. So again, same way, you just roll the wool between your fingers, start at one end and go up. If you can give it how many ever stripes you want. Stripes are always good on a gingerbread house because they remind us of candy stripes. So stripes are good. And so if you fit 2 or 3 or even more, I'm going to fit 3 on this one. I only fitted 2 on the other, already going off beat, like this. And then if you want to, you could put a little cupcake as a door handle, depending what you've got available to use as accessories, or you can needle felt one. On my little gingerbread house that I made before, I had a tiny little cupcake that goes on there, but you don't have to do that. So you can just choose any color you like, maybe purple or pink, and make a little door handle. Can be in the middle or it can be on the side. Just a little splosh of color there. Make a door handle. Now, if you've got the candy canes, you can actually put them here on the side of the door. You can put them wherever you like, but if you want to make candy canes yourself, and I'm just going to show you this quickly, all you need is a little bit of pipe cleaner or wire. So I've even got 2 different pieces of wire here. I'm just going to make sure they're the same. They just happen to be on my desk. So there's 2 pieces of wire, and all you need to do is you start with white. I mean, this is already white, this pipe cleaner, but I'm going to do it again. And just add a little bit. So this is not part of your pack to make the gingerbread house, because a lot of you have got the little candy canes there that you can just glue into place. But you just wrap the pipe cleaner length with white, and then you take a little bit of red, much less, like a really thin strand like this, and get it fastened, get it secure. And then you wrap this too, but this time only so that you make stripes. So you want to go all the way down. So you can very easily make your own candy cane in that way. Get the wool to sort of just sink in. And then all you've got to do is bend it into a candy cane shape. There you go. And if you want to secure it on, just stab very, very into the edge of the I want to give it a pink stripe on the side of the house, so I don't want to cover that up yet, but just felt into the side of the candy cane. That will also neaten it out a little bit, and or you can glue it on. So really easy to make a candy cane. Can do it on the other side, or just put one candy cane. This is entirely your design. I do want to put a little bit of a pink beam here on the side of the house. So again, twist the wool, shape it in your fingers, and then felt it down. It doesn't have to be in pink, but you can make it in any color you like, and just felt it down like follow the sort of the side of the wall, and that also emphasizes that slight shaping going downward, as I was talking about earlier. I think it just makes it a nicer shape when it's sort of slightly tapered at the bottom. Put that down, and you can do that on the other side as well, just so that it's symmetrical. You can do this on all 4 sides. Remember, just for time constraints, I'm only doing this at the front, but if you want to do this, you can do this on all 4 corners. Felt a little bit of pink down, or any color. And then you can give it 2 windows. Maybe let's do another candy cane. So let's wrap. So I've used completely different pipe cleaners. One is a beige pipe cleaner and one is a white one, but I'm covering both of them in white wool. And then I just use a little bit of red, tiny amounts of red, much less than you use for the actual white cover. Get that established. And I like twisting the wire so that the wool gets nicely, I can see exactly where I'm placing it by just twisting the wire and allowing the wool to slide through my fingers. And I can see you can make a really fine pattern that way. So that's the second one done, and then just bend that in too, like that. And you can felt that into place as well. Just very gently stab into the edge. You don't want to stab very hard because you really don't want to stab into the pipe cleaner wire. But it does allow you to neaten up the candy cane a little bit if you stab into the edge, because if you have any wispy wool, that's quite handy to get it felted down. And then you can make windows. So I made them in that pale pink. Again, felt, so lay the wool down. This is how I do it. And instead of making a pre-shape or anything like this, I literally just felt a circle into the wool like this. And then I push the wool from the outside inward, because you've got that line that you felt it, or the circular line that you felt it. You should get a nice neat, oh, my chimney's falling out. Keep that pushed in there. Should get a nice neat circle, and then you repeat that on the other side. I would do that first before you start decorating that window. So just another wisp of wool here. The challenge is always to make sure that you have this. I'm actually not sure that I'm just going to spotlight myself. I didn't do that, so there, that might be a bit bigger for everybody to see me. So I'm just felting that circle in there as well. Fold the wool inward and try and keep it as symmetrical as you can if you're putting two windows in there. But if they're slightly wonky, I wouldn't worry about it. It's a gingerbread house, right? Nothing particularly straight and symmetrical about a gingerbread house. There, and then you can pop window frames in there. So maybe use the pink, bright pink. Just put a cross in there, one going up and down and the other one across. And if you want to, you can put a window frame in there as well. So there's a lot of finer detail, but this is just a suggestion. If you like a particular design of gingerbread house, then maybe you can look it up and copy it. That's also possible. So maybe you find a photo of it and you can copy your preferred gingerbread house that might not even be felted, just any gingerbread house. You can copy it by just looking at it and adding the wool and the decorations wherever you want. And I would love to see your gingerbread houses. And you know where to post them on Every Wanna Maker. Pop them into the group and do post your gingerbread houses, please, on our Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook, then we always enjoy seeing them in an email as well. Or you can tag us on Instagram. So we are at the makers with double S on Instagram. And if you want to email us, it's info@themakers with double s.co.uk. And yeah, we would love to see them. So I'm just adding a frame into the windows here. I'm going to add the crossbar now, going this way. You can see I've added the frame first on the second window and last on the first window. So there's no real rules really. You can try it all out and see whatever works best for you. And I am using my medium felting needle, so I feel I have a bit more control in the finer detail with my medium needle. And then you can, and the windows are very wonky, but it doesn't really matter. And then you can sort of do maybe little, like a little garland, almost sort of like a, I'll show you. So a strand of wool, get it fastened on the corner, then go around in a little loop up and felt that down, and go round again, down again. So it's entirely up to you how you want to decorate your gingerbread house, and you can completely cover it in color and sugar icing, or you can keep it very minimalistic. That's fine too, by just adding a couple of cupcakes on there. And do that on the other side as well now. Start here. Get that felted down. Go that way. And then you can start adding decorations to your roof. Again, either woolly decorations, or maybe you've got stuff in your own stash of little sweeties. Some of you have got lollipops, so they can go on there as well. Yeah, it's the fun bit is really in the decoration and how you want to use the colors. And the colors that are in here are sort of, I suppose this could be mint or pistachio or whatever. I'm gonna put a little bit of a pink blob here in that corner. That's like it's almost like candy floss, that color. So that can go there. Keep it nice and soft. And then you can put a little bit of, we've got this lovely yellow for a lemon, I don't know, lemon, something lemon, something lemon in there, into the little holes with, by the roof, and into the green. So that could be, I don't know, pistachio and lemon. I don't know. This is making me hungry. That I do know. Making this gingerbread house, I want to eat. I'm imagining now all these things being sweets and sugary things. Yum. So, and then more on this side. So much, honestly, this could be a never-ending project, especially if you're decorating both sides. And I'm already going different from the original house because I can. And so there you go. That's maybe sort of the front. And oh, my chimney, it keeps popping down. It's fine. We're keeping it like this now because I'm going to work on the roof. So what I've done here is I've just added little, they almost look like little wine gums, or yeah, like little sweeties on that part of the roof, and then the same here. And again, you can use all the colors that you've got um in your color selection here, and just pop little spots on, or there could be little Smarties, little, I don't know, jelly beans, anything like this. So just pop them on however you want. Add a few real decorations and then glue them on. I'm sure that your imagination is probably going wild right now, and that's absolutely where I want it to go. We want this to be your gingerbread house. And then you can also add details here on that overlap where the sugar is hanging down. So that could also be just little spots like this, or I don't know, little swirls. You can make swirls. Um, anything, anything you want. It can be really colorful, or you can just stick to certain colors, whatever takes your fancy. And when you are happy with the decoration of your house, when you've colored it in as much as you feel and you want to, then you're going to use a thicker needle, which, oh my goodness, this will scare you to death now, because that's the only thick needle I've got, is one of these massive big teddy bear needles. Um, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it because it's got the biggest eye that I can find. You don't need to use this. A darning needle will do. This is ginormous. It's really long. This is not what you need to use. But in any case, you're going to have to poke a hole so that you're going right across into the structural core. And that's all you need to do, is pull that through, and then hang your gingerbread house up, so that when you pull it, this is inside the structural core. It's not just in the white wool, it's actually inside the structural core. And there you are. Ah, this looks already, even though there's a lot of decoration still missing, continue coloring this in. Could be like little wine gums. I honestly, it is endless. You have so much opportunity now to make your gingerbread house look just how you want it. And I will be honest, it is a little bit bigger, but I think it's actually it looks amazing. Oh, here I've dipped into the sugar a little bit. So if you want to do that, you can just felt a groove into the side of the roof so that it looks like a little. You can do that anytime, so it looks a little bit more like it's got softer edges here. So that's quite easy to do. You can do this all the way around. If you want to, you can do this anytime. It's never too late to do this. So just stab into the edge of the sugar icing. Well, it's full actually, but you know what I mean. And pelt that down. But like I say, the whole you've got the golden key to making now any kind of house. It's only a gingerbread house because you're decorating it that way, but you could make this into a little bird house, into a dog house, into anything you want to. So I'm just going to show you this um, from the front so you can see. There we go. And it's hanging up and decorated on the back as well if you like. Doesn't have to be another door or windows. It could just be lots of sugary decorations. And there they are, two side by side. Um, and they make any Christmas tree look very happy, and hopefully you have lots of fun finishing them off with a finer detail. So that's that, and I can't wait to see them all.